Welcome back to another episode of Real Talk, Michigan Edition. Jeff here. Dan, how are you, man?
Uh, Not too bad. Obviously, what happened on Saturday, but it's still a good time. I was with some family in the Motor City for New Year's, so still a good time. But just like that, man, football season for college is pretty much over with. So I'm looking forward to getting into this one.
Yeah, we said we would record this pod, win or lose, and here we are after a loss, not running scared. Here to talk about the disappointment. For me, it was just kind of a shitty weekend all along. Obviously, Michigan taking an L, and we'll talk about that. I had some sump pump issues, and I had some car troubles over the weekend. And so it's kind of not a great weekend. Patriots play for a chance to make the playoffs next week, which is kind of cool. But other than that, I mean, just kind of a bad weekend sports-wise and life-wise. But Michigan TCU. Lots to say here. If you're listening to this pod, I'm guessing you watched it. So I don't want to really go into this game was so entertaining. It was 51-45 to the average college football fan. This was probably a fun college football game. I would compare this to a very similar Boise State, Oklahoma, or just a neutral fan game that goes down to the wire. But ultimately, from what I've seen of Michigan, it's just a lot of self-inflicted wounds or shooting yourself in the foot. And I'm sure you'll agree. I'll ask your opinion here in a second. But this game is highlighted by what a lot of people are referring to as bad ref calls and Michigan kind of failing once again to win a bowl game under Jim Harbaugh. We'll get into the stats, but just ultimately right now, how are you feeling after the loss? What is your current opinion on just what the team is right now? Let's start there before we start to really dive into this game.
Yeah, so how I'm feeling, man, is I think we let one get away.
Yeah.
I think this was the season to get that natty before this 12-team playoff comes up and things get much harder. The Big Ten West is on the up. This was the moment. This was the season. So it was very disappointing. And what was the second part of your question?
Basically, just how are you feeling about the team right now?
Yeah, the team. I feel it's a pretty complete team. I just think that the mental mistakes, man, just were not ironed out, and they just not seem prepared. Again, I feel like Michigan is a better team talent-wise. Some may disagree with that, some may not. I know TCU's got 2 Thorpe Award winners, or has got 1 Thorpe Award winner, and the other one's a runner-up, or whatever. So they got solid corners. They have a NFL elite wide receiver, Quentin Johnson, and then, of course, they got a Heisman runner-up. So, I mean, they got talent as well. But Michigan, I just feel like they let this one slip away.
Yeah, what you said, man. Dude, I'm a fan. I'm not a player. I'm allowed to get ahead of what the team is. I'm allowed in mid-September to look ahead to Ohio State. I'm allowed to look at a potential national championship with 3 weeks to go in the season. I'm allowed to do that. That's my right as a fan. I'm not playing. I'm not preparing for these teams. Dude, I thought this was a national championship team. I thought this team was 1,000% at minimum destined to play for the national championship. Would they come up short? Maybe. But I thought they were at least destined to play for that. And I watched the game this past weekend. Mutual friend of ours, Corey Wilson, shout out if you're listening to the pod. Went to his house. He was asking me right before the game, how do you feel, Jeff? I said, I feel very confident. And he said, you're not scared at all? I said, honestly, no. But if it's 10-0 or 14-0 after the first quarter, ask me again.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, oh boy, did it get 14-0 real quick. Yeah, I think that this game is going to be remembered as a game that Michigan let slip away. And I don't know as a neutral fan how you would think different. I think I've listened to a lot of different people's opinion. This is just take nothing away from TCU. TCU is a great football team. They deserve to make the college football playoff. They deserve to make the national championship because they beat a good Michigan team. But I just didn't see a single thing on Saturday that TCU did that was like, oh my gosh. There was I'm just going to read them off. Michigan had 2 pick sixes. Jim Harbaugh called a double reverse known as the Philly special, where a freshman tight end is throwing a pass at the goal line, first drive of the game. They fumbled the ball on the 1-yard line at first and goal. They fumbled the ball on the last snap of the game, causing the play to go in disarray. I'm sorry. Like, holy cow, man. Like, that's just, it's an absolute just gut punch.
Yeah.
And I'll turn it over to you. Take me away with just your opinions on the play calling and just the absolute self-inflicted wounds that Michigan decided just today wasn't going to be the day.
Yeah, we talked about it last year, more towards the end of the season, and what 2021 was different was they didn't let an error snowball affect into more, and they did that by winning some really crucial games on the road. This year, up until this point, we're really, really great at executing and having their, dotting their I's, crossing their T's. This game felt like a lot of the 2017, 2018, 2019 season, where when one thing goes wrong, it's just followed up by another and another and another. And regarding the play calling, it was just, I felt like they were just getting way too cute. I felt like just stick with what's been working, go back to the well, which is your running game. Granted, TCU did a great job at plugging the gaps, but I felt like if they were running to the outside, to the flats, I thought there was a lot of daylight there, especially in the read option. The Philly special, we'd be praising Jim Harbaugh in a win, and if that play got executed, it did not. I still don't understand why, Donovan Edwards is taken out of the game inside the 10-yard line. It's just bad. It's like, he's your best player in offense, essentially, without Blake Corum. Why take him out? Khalil Mullings has been essentially playing backup linebacker all season, and just because, he's a bruiser, he's a big body. I mean, like, you got Javier Dunlap. I wouldn't even be upset if Isaiah Gash got the goal line carry, but I know I don't want to be hard on Mullings, but I'm more just on why not use your star running back. Doesn't make any sense to me. All season long, the lack of or not using enough of the play action pass. Your bread and butter's running. And they always run on first down like 90% of the time. Run a play action there. They don't attack the middle of the field. You got 2 talented tight ends. I just don't understand why the seams are not infiltrated on a daily basis or on a play-by-play basis. But I just feel like they try to get too cute. And for being a back-to-back Joe Moore Award winner offensive line, I thought they did not play up to par. And now we see both playoff losses here come down to the offensive line not executing, not doing a good job. And I felt like that 3-3-5 defense, whatever, was confusing them, and they were sending 4 or 5 guys all night at JJ, and he was running for his life. But yeah, in terms of play calling and where that stands, that's where I'm at.
Without going super in depth, let's do this. Great, good, average, bad, awful. How was JJ McCarthy?
Good. He goes at it, and with his wild plays, you can sometimes get into those disaster situations. He up until this point, really kind of limited to that, or he didn't bite the bullet. We talked about last year how he likes to play NFL blitz and scramble for an hour, and sometimes, like in this game, he had a tremendous, I don't say tremendous, but just a long drawn out run that he reversed the field and got the first down. And then the other time, he didn't quite run forever, but intentional grounding at the worst possible time. And then you have the 2 pick sixes, man. This is a team loss, but those 2 pick sixes, man, that really put them in the doghouse, and it's hard to come back from that.
Yeah, if JJ McCarthy throws 1 pick six, I'm putting this game at great.
Yeah.
The 2 had to knock it down to good, because this is crazy to say through 2 pick sixes. I thought this is the best JJ McCarthy we've ever seen. I thought he played his ass off. I thought he was an absolute champion out there. It absolutely impressed me. This is not a shot at TCU. This is a comment about how JJ was playing. It looked like he was playing Hawaii at times. Like, he just looked so good. His deep ball, is that not the best deep ball he's thrown all year? He was throwing it multiple times to Ronnie Brown, multiple times to Roman Wilson. I think there was one to Colson Loveland. This was the best deep ball he had thrown all year. He threw a pretty good deep ball against Ohio State. I think there was a couple of plays against Purdue, but this game was like, holy crap. Like, this is the JJ we've been asking for all year long, and like the JJ we've been asking for 2 years. I thought he played incredible. We also seen those bold-headed plays, that the late game intentional grounding, as you alluded to. Obviously, and I don't put this on him, it's more or less the center, but the fumbled snap at the very end, and then the 2 pick sixes are just absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit of referees. I don't put this one on the refs even for a half second, but there are 2 calls that are just egregious. They're just egregious. I don't know how you Let me start with this. I am the biggest component. If whatever it is called on the field, if you don't have evidence to overturn it, you can't overturn it. I didn't see anything that told me that Roman Wilson didn't score a touchdown there. There was just nothing that was so disputable that it's like, okay, we need to overturn this. Do you agree or disagree? Did you think Roman Wilson scored a touchdown?
At 100%. 100%.
Yeah. That obviously set up 1st and goal. Bad call? Yes. Reason we lost? No. You fumbled the very next play. Like it's inexcusable. Later in the game, I don't remember what quarter this is or what exact spot, JJ McCarthy was hit with a roughing the passer call. Did you get to see that?
Yeah, it was not. That was a bad call.
Soft, just an absolute horrific call.
Yeah,
like you called roughing the passer on that, which foreshadows what we're about to talk about next. Opinions on the targeting or non-targeting on Colson Loveland. Do you think it was targeting?
I felt like it was targeting. It also looked really painful because where he got hit was like the side of the neck, back of the head.
Yeah.
I felt like I don't think he got pulled out of the game for concussion, but man, he probably had some symptoms because he got his bell rung. I thought it was targeting, and for a brief moment, I was at the Red Wings game and I'm standing there on the concourse watching it, and for a brief moment, I'm like, well, I'm not going to walk away. I thought the game was over. And I look at the TV and I'm like, what are they reviewing? They're reviewing the targeting. And I'm like, that to me it was clear as plain as day. Michigan fan, not Michigan fan. I think that was one of 3 targeting calls they missed over the weekend, and yeah, I thought that was indisputable.
Yeah, I don't know how you call JJ roughing the passer. All year long you call these targeting calls. And literally the definition of targeting is leading with the helmet, the crown of the helmet, and making contact to the other player's helmet. I'm sorry, that's exactly what happened.
Yep.
And they didn't call it because they didn't want to extend that game. And I'm sorry, but that's a bullshit reason. You absolutely have to call that there. Mm-hmm. You have to call that. And I understand that maybe that's a tough time to call it, but it's targeting on the last play of the game. Now, mind you, Michigan shouldn't even have been in that situation. Obviously, the fumbled snap, it gets loose. Donovan picks it up and throws it. And at first, I was like, well, that just ended it. He threw a illegal forward pass. He didn't throw an illegal forward pass.
Mm.
That was a legal pass because it was fumbled, picked up, and Donovan threw it. So there's just no reason why that targeting shouldn't have been called. It's really tough. I put this loss completely on both the coaching staff and just the team in general. Like, I just felt like the entire team was not prepared, which is crazy. Because what if I told you that this team scored 45 points going into the game? What would you have said?
Hell yeah.
We won,
Yeah.
right? You would have been like, we won all day
Yeah.
long. And I'm gonna pull the stats up here, real brief. Just like, hang with me here. Not only if I told you we won, we scored 45. What if I told you that the team? Where are we at here? Sorry, hang with me. What if I told you that the team decided they were going to lead the? Okay, I can't find it now. They led in passing.
Mhm.
They almost had the most rushing yards. They had more first downs.
25.
25 more. Okay, they had less penalties. Shockingly,
Yeah.
equal amount of turnovers, more time of possession. I'm sorry, that screams a Michigan blowout to me.
Mhm. Yeah.
But it wasn't. But it
Yeah.
wasn't.
And to go off the 25 first downs, though, with what was another big one was Michigan was 3 for 13 on third down and 0 for 2 on fourth
Yeah,
down.
very bad.
But yeah, for sure. And then TCU was 8 of 16 on third down.
Mm-hmm.
They just made time to clutch plays. They held Max Duggan really. I mean, he had a couple big throws in the air, but I mean, 225 through the air, and it was mostly done with his legs and in short yardage situations. And it seemed like Michigan's D line was just getting bossed around in 4th and 1 on the goal line, and that was probably one of the most frustrating things to me. I real quick too. TCU racked up 13 tackles for loss, 4 sacks. Michigan had 1 sack with 3 tackles for loss. And
We weren't in their backfield.
yeah, so
We were
again,
not in their backfield.
that just I thought that Michigan really, if they wanted to really continue this defensive prowess in the second half, they had to get Duggan dirty, and they did not. He had a clean pocket most of the night, and right there, 3 tackles for loss, 1 sack, and I don't know how many pressures they had, but it's probably not that many. That was disappointing, and I gotta say, Adam, I don't know when it was for you, but I think when Quentin Johnson caught that crossing route on that blitz that they sold out on, and he ran for the 60-something yard touchdown, and I think it was 41-38 at that point with 13 to go, so in striking distance, right? And then that's when they go up again, and man, that was a play that I'm like, I don't think we're gonna win this one now. That was, to me, I just felt it was too insurmountable when he ran that for a touchdown. That was just a gut punch.
I don't agree. It felt like it, but the game, it never seemed over. It literally never. It felt very Super Bowl 51.
Yeah.
So, like, obviously, I'm the biggest Tom Brady homer on this planet, openly about it. Big Patriot guy. So obviously, like, and I'm a pretty confident sports watcher. Like, I like to always believe that my team can win. But like, I'm watching Super Bowl 51. For those of you who don't know, Patriots Falcons 28-3 game, and it literally just felt like the Patriots had done everything to lose the game rather than win it, and the Falcons had just done what they were supposed to. That's very much how I felt about this TCU Michigan game. I was just like, Michigan is literally doing everything in its power to lose this game, and TCU is doing just what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
That's not a shot. I mean, that's how I felt. And Michigan, I just felt as long as they played their game, they could crawl in. The second pick six was a killer. You just alluded to the underneath crossing route where he took it to the house. Quentin Johnson, I think is his name, right?
Yeah.
Those felt killer. But then Michigan had the chance on the last drive, even when they got the ball back. And a friend of ours is calling it the worst time management he's ever seen. And at first, I agreed, and then I watched how Harbaugh let that play out. I thought he played the time management perfect. I thought he did. It was hard to watch all the time tick down, but really he made the right call. He waited till after the 2 minutes, and he couldn't get any more stops, and then took all the timeouts. He played that right. He really did. And when Michigan got the ball back, I thought we were going to win.
Mm-hmm.
I thought we were going to win, man. I was like, this is crazy. And I don't know. We've talked a lot about this game. I want to make one more little rant here.
Yeah.
And I'll let you chime in if you want. Listen, we're making this podcast because we care about this team. We like Michigan football. Okay, we're passionate fans. You often call it your religion. if I didn't care about Michigan football, I wouldn't watch it. I wouldn't buy these sweatshirts. I wouldn't make this podcast right now. And over the last couple of days, I've just seen people's tweets and Facebook posts, and I feel like maybe some of them are directed at me or other people, and I just kind of chuckle. If you don't have the passion for sports that other people do, why are we demonizing the people that do have that passion? Like this legitimately, it was a gut punch, dude. I drove home about a 30-minute drive, and I was sad. I was legitimately sad. Like I expected big things from this team. Like I was already pre-planning, like, what am I going to do for the national championship? Like that's how I felt this team could go. And it's just like everybody's always willing to say, well, it's just a game. Yeah, maybe it is a game to you. For me, it's a little bit more than that, because it's a passion. It's something that like I legitimately care about. And the very next day I was watching Michigan basketball.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go freeze my ass off with you in Cleveland next month.
Yeah.
To watch a Michigan hockey game outside. It's just like if this isn't for you, that's fine.
Yeah.
But like demonizing other people for having their passion is just silly to me. And that's my closing rant before we get into everything else, because it has a lot to do with this game. Obviously, Michigan and Ohio State fans kind of have their little beefs and stuff, and it's bad twice a year. It's bad during the season, it's bad during the game, and then potentially whether or not one team loses a bowl game, we're gonna chirp at each other. But I don't know. That's just what I wanted to say.
No, I completely agree, man. The Block M is a huge part of my life, and I haven't done it yet because my son is 5 years old. He's not ready to go and have the attention span for a couple hours. But when I know that when I take my kid to his first Michigan game, I'm going to be fighting back tears because I'm going to live through him. And that was why I called it emotionally to you and Brad when you guys were doing your NFL last year on your son pre-Sunday show, whatever. I just come back from Indianapolis, and I was emotional, emotional, just in happiness mode, because you see the fathers and the grandfathers who witnessed Michigan's success for so long, and then see that them back on top, and then they finally get to experience that with their kids and their grandkids. It's something special. That's what makes sports great. And real quick too, on Twitter, a lot leading up to this Fiesta Bowl game, a lot of TCU fans on Twitter were like, doing the whole Michigan State rigmarole of, why do you root for a team you didn't even go to college for? It's like if college football, if you were only allowed to be a fan of a college football team because you went to school there, college football wouldn't even fucking exist. The reason why
literally would not exist.
It would not exist. The reason why it exists is because fans from all over, whether they went to school or not, enjoy the game, because it's student athletes, but because it's it's just in your face. It's just a part of our lives like that, right? So it doesn't feel like it's amateur, whatever. But it was funny because TCU, I think when they said on the broadcast, I think their enrollment is like 12,000 and Michigan's is like 51,000. So they just don't understand, where we're at. But yeah, man, I know I'm completely with you on that for sure. And yeah, you're right. Michigan is my religion. Football more so than any of these other sports, but hockey and basketball right there. But yeah, man, this game does suck. I kind of felt like I kind of had like a comparison to how the 2005 Alamo Bowl ended, where when they were playing Nebraska, they were on the last play and they had to do, hook and ladders and pitch back and forth, whatever. And they got down to the 1 yard line, just a little short to win it at the end there as time expired. But yeah, I'm ready to move on from this game. It burns, man, because this is a game that I felt like we left one out there. But
yeah, I think I said this on the podcast. I know I tweeted it or posted about it on Facebook. If you'd have told me before the season, I'm sure you agree with this. If you'd have told us before the season, hey, you're going to have to beat TCU and you get to play for a national championship, we would have taken that all day.
Yeah.
We would have. This was the matchup for us. And one last point. Because of, I hate the word diehard because I feel like it's overused, but because of how diehard we are, because of our passion and what we feel about this team was special. It was the first ever 13-win season in Michigan history.
Yeah.
Like, this team had high hopes, and because of that, this loss is going to hurt more. Last thing before we get into liked, disliked more of. If you had to put this loss on any one thing, whether it be coaching, would it just be bad play? If you want to blame officiating, go ahead. Like, if you had to put this loss on anything, what would you potentially put it on?
1A, poor execution. 1B, coaching.
Yeah, I think I would either agree or slightly flip them, but it's close. I think it's 51-49, one of the two. I think I agree. All right. Are you ready for like, dislike more? Do you have any more comments for this game?
Ready to go. Let's do it.
Yeah. Go ahead, hit me with your liked.
All right.
I got multiple here. If you got more than one, go ahead and hit me with whatever you got.
I don't want to be like a Debbie Downer, but my liked is my shortest one.
That's fine.
So liked to me was the grit and the effort coming out of the second half, especially not ready to quit, down 21-6. It was a tall order, and they should have had 2 touchdowns in that first half, but alas, they did not. And I really I thought that 21-6 was a pretty, like I said, tall order. It was a tough task, and they battled right back. I mean, that third quarter was boom, wow. Okay, we got ourselves a ball game. We got ourselves a chop. But that's what my like was.
Man. All right. Give me a second here because I got a few.
Okay.
So you said grind and determination.
Yeah.
The word Harbaugh loves to use is resolve. I thought this team showed a ton of that in this game. There were 2 different points where, as you alluded to, the game kind of fell over, and this team just battled back. And that second half, especially, just an absolute second half team, and the explosion was there. Unfortunately, they couldn't get enough defensive stops. Number 2, I don't talk about JJ in a positive form too much, but I thought he played the game of his life. 2 pick sixes are going to overshadow that, but I like JJ's playmaking. He was 20 of 34 for 343, 2 touchdowns. He also had 50 yards rushing and a touchdown. I'm sorry, like, those numbers are so incredibly promising heading into next year. Like, this is the stat line we needed to see, even in a loss, and it hurts, but this is what we need to see. Clean up those picks, which I believe he will. He only threw 3 all year, and threw 2 in this game. And then obviously the late game heroics. We're almost there. Wide receiver play. Thought wide receiver play was really good. Ronnie, 6 for 135 and a touchdown. Roman, 5 for 104 and a touchdown. It just felt not everybody was contributing, but our 2 top guys. If you said, hey, Jeff, I need these 2 guys to play their best games, I think you definitely would choose Ronnie, and then you're either Roman or Cornelius, and I think we both agree that Roman's one of our better threats when he's fully going. Next thing, Jake Moody. Holy hell, am I going to miss Jake Moody? 3 of 3 on field goals in a career high, and I'll be the first. I'm a Jake Moody homer. I'll be the first to say it. He had no chance of making this field goal. And he bolted through a career-high 59-yard field goal. I believe it's a new Michigan record, if I remember that correctly. But
yeah, I don't know.
And then he was actually 2 for 2 on extra points too. I just thought like Jake Moody was incredible. And then last but not least, I don't feel like I talk about enough defenders. Sophomore Rod Moore. Gosh, Rod Moore, man. 12 tackles, 1 interception. I thought he was one of the bright spots in that defense. It's not good that his safety has 12 tackles. That's not his fault. But made all the tackles when he was given the opportunity to. Anytime you see a safety with 12 tackles, that's not a good thing. But he had 12 tackles and a pick. I thought he played a great game. Disliked, I'll let you go first.
Kind of picked apart a little bit already, but it was the mental errors. It was the coach getting out coached. I say this is kind of ironic because I feel like Jim Harbaugh coached this game kind of like James Franklin does, and why it's ironic is James Franklin actually won the Rose Bowl against Utah this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
he was being like a little Jimmer Franklin over there at Happy Valley. And the way this game ended, I kind of compared it to the Alamo Bowl in 05 was, the snap off the leg and then the laterals at the end there. It was just an ugly, just a depressing way to go out. And you would hope that at least get a playoff and get a play in the end zone or something like that. But yeah, really about that. I thought the clock management at the end there was still could have been better, but yeah, those are really my rain clouds.
Dislikes for me, number one, this takes the cake. Lost identity. I thought we lost our identity in this game. 5 penalties, 3 turnovers, and just the play calling at the goal line, just everything. I just felt like the identity was completely lost. Second thing, Donovan Edwards / the O-line play. Donovan had 1 carry for 54 yards to start the game, and I think he averaged 3 yards to carry the rest of the way. Just not the Donovan that we've seen in his spots. And the O-line, as you said, it just wasn't protecting for JJ. 3 and 13 on third down, 0 of 2 on fourth down. Just an absolute horrendous performance in the crucial downs. And then the lack of pressure. It's 1 sack, and it comes from a safety on a blitz. Just absolutely no pressure from the down lineman. I'll go first, and I'll let you finish her off. This J.J. McCarthy. The J.J. McCarthy we've seen over the last couple weeks against Ohio State, Purdue, and TCU gives me so much promise in next year and what we have in this quarterback. I was a Cade supporter and said that he never lost a job. And then, JJ against Hawaii, I thought deserved a start, and this dude has never looked back. In his 1 loss, he played one of the greatest games of his life, and just unfortunately, he made 2 costly interceptions, and it just was too much to overcome. And then the second thing here, these seasons, these last 2 seasons have been an absolutely incredible ride, and I put 3-peat question mark. Can we beat Ohio State again? Can we win the Big Ten title again? These seasons, man, we need more of them. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, my more of is just the improvement going forward into 2023. Yeah, the 3P would be great. We've gotten over the Ohio State hump. Now it is time to, get the stigma off our back that we can't win a bowl game. Dropping 6 in a row, it's pretty gross. We got to get past the first round, and this was the year to do it. I kind of alluded to earlier. The Big Ten West is going to be on the up. USC, UCLA, Matt Rule, Luke Fickell, Adam Sandler over there in Madison. These teams are going to be turning around. And, again, this was the year. This was the year to do it. And with that 12-team playoff coming up, things are only going to get harder. They have to, 2021 was a dream ending. 2022 was affirmation, and this one's going to have to. 2023 is going to have to be, make it their own, whether Jim Harbaugh is our head coach or not. And I gotta say, all 3 of these would probably be a little different too. I probably would have tweaked it if Ohio State would have won this season. I felt like would have had a lot less sting to it if Ohio State would have beat Georgia, because they would be advancing to the Natty. We would be at home watching them, and despite Ohio State really not deserving to be in the college football playoff, they almost had their shot. And I felt like if they would have won that, then our win in Columbus may or may not be as of a big of a stamp. So
no, it wouldn't even have mattered. I agree with you. It wouldn't have mattered.
So that would have made this weekend even fucking worse. But yeah, I just, like I said, pretty much all season, I was just trying to keep stacking these seasons up, man.
Yeah, Ohio State playing for the national championship would have hurt. Had they won the national championship, dude, these last 2 wins over Ohio State, I'm serious, it would have felt like nothing. It would have felt like we have accomplished nothing. It's like that time you punched that that big bully in the eye, and all of a sudden you're expelled from school and he's still bullying people. You know what I mean? It's just like it would have felt like just an absolute kick. So I'm glad that I'm glad Georgia was able to take care of them, and I have a question about that later. But anything else before we move on to season awards?
Nope, that's it, man.
Let's start from the bottom and work our way up as far as I guess I don't know if importance is the word, but let's start from freshman defensive player of the year. I thought there were many options here. Who did you have?
Freshman defensive player of the year, Will Johnson.
Will Johnson. We agree here. 25 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 3 picks, which was second on the team, and 3 pass defenses, including 2 picks in the Big Ten championship game. I thought you had to put him in here. He was so good down the stretch, locked up a lot. His stats don't even jump off the page because he was locking dudes down.
Yeah.
I agree. Any other comments?
No, I don't know what it is, but I did run across a graphic where his season stats were like insane. I think he only gave up like 1 or 2 touchdowns. Like it was
well, you remember he got burned week 1 against Colorado late in the game. It was he didn't get a ton of playing time in that Colorado game. He was getting worked in. He got burned for a touchdown. Harbaugh even said, he goes, it was a good coaching moment for him.
Yeah.
Like knowing this is going to benefit him getting burned on that. Like we can coach him on this.
Yeah.
And late in the year, holy cow, they ended up putting him on Marvin Harrison. They put him on Quentin Johnson. They put him on everybody. He was just such a dog. And the fact that we get to watch this dude for at least another 2 years, knock on wood, transfer portal crap, but dude, this dude is the real deal.
100%.
Freshman offensive player of the year. I didn't think there was a ton of options. I think we probably agree again. By the way, defensive player of the year, as far as freshmen, it could have very easily been McGregor.
Yeah.
Or, well, I'm blanking on his name. Mason Graham.
Yeah, Mason Graham. Yeah, to be fair, Brandon McGregor, he's technically not a freshman because he's been redshirted because of his injuries, but I get where you're coming from. But yeah, I would say Mason Graham after Will Johnson.
Yeah. But freshman offensive player of the year, I would assume we agree here. It's Colson Loveland.
100%. 100%.
And much like Will Johnson, down the stretch, and this should always be the case for a freshman, unless you're just an absolute dog. As the season progresses, you're going to get more comfortable. You're going to get more fitted in your own skin. You're going to get more comfortable with the team and the play calling and just your role. But Colson Loveland, 16 catches, 235, 2 touchdowns. His touchdowns against Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. What more can you ask for? And was trusted to throw a pass, though I don't think it was a good idea. He was trusted to throw a pass in a playoff game, which was kind of crazy. Who did you had Colson too or no?
Yep.
Okay. Opinions on Colson?
Yeah. He really stepped up towards the middle of the end of the year, and he's put some beef on him if that's where they go on the route they go for his physical stature or whatever, to be more of a all around blocker as well as a pass catcher. But he definitely has the potential to be one of our best targets in the near future.
Who did you have for special teams player of the year?
I mean, it's the one and only Jake Moody, who, by the way, is number 1 on Michigan's all-time scoring list, who just passed Garrett Rivas. Garrett Rivas had a career of 354 points. Jake Moody is going to retire as a Michigan Wolverine with 355. So, Money Moody all day.
Yeah, this is unanimous. We have Jake Moody as well. As I alluded to earlier in the playoff game, he kicked a 59-yarder to walk off his college career. Absolutely incredible. He was 60 of 60 from extra points this year. Just literally money. He has the new single season record for most points scored at Michigan with 142. That belongs to Jake Moody. He is, as you alluded to, the all-time leading scorer at Michigan. The amount of greats that have put on the wing helmet, and Jake Moody is the all-time leading scorer. Dude, money.
Yeah.
I've seen this tweeted a lot, and I will agree. That man's never allowed to pay for his own beer in Ann Arbor the rest of his life.
Yeah.
We're forever indebted to him. The game winner against Illinois, and so many more obviously memorable moments from Jake Moody. Defensive player of the year. Who do you got here? Lots of options.
Ton of options.
I have a feeling this is the first one we're not going to agree on.
I mean, I'm gonna go with Mikey Sanders still, dude.
Let's go. Let's go.
One?
Same one.
Same one. I mean, dude. I mean, he made dozens of plays, whatever. But obviously, the one Caleb Stover in Columbus was absolutely huge, and he makes the transition to DB. And again, he was recruited to be a cornerback, but he made the move to wide receiver for a few years and goes right back to corner like it was seamless. And the guy's a rock star.
He is a senior this year. He played 4 years. 3 of those years, he played wide receiver. Okay. In his first year at starting corner, he was named captain. 58 total tackles, 1 interception, 2 sacks, 7 passes defenses. Obviously, the pass breakup against Stover in the end zone against Ohio State, you just alluded to, is going to be a forever Michigan moment. I'm sorry. For me, it was like, in order to take Sanders still off Defensive Player of the Year, it was going to take a lot. And that just an absolute, just the fact that he's coming back next year is such a gift. It's such a gift. We agree. I didn't think we would because there was a couple options, but I'm glad you said it. Offensive Player of the Year, I feel like we agree here too. Who do you got?
My overall MVP in my Player of the Year right here on the offense is both the same. It's Blake Corum.
We agree.
It's Blake Corum, man.
Team MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, and hopefully a 2023 Michigan Wolverine. Time will tell. 1,500 total yards, 19 total touchdowns, unanimous All-American. Blake's forever one of the top Wolverines ever. It sucks because he gets hurt in the first half against Illinois, and obviously we needed him in that second half, but we didn't have Donovan, so we felt the need a running back. Against Ohio State, it didn't feel like we needed Blake. Against the Big Ten in the Big Ten championship against Purdue, it didn't feel like we needed Blake. TCU, it felt like we needed Blake. I don't know if you agree. I'm sure you do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just sucked. Hopefully he makes whatever choice is best for him. But yeah, Blake Corum is Offensive Player of the Year and Team MVP in a runaway. It's unanimous.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else before we start talking about the head football coach of Michigan?
No, some of the questions I have for you, or at least one of them, is going to be a good segue after this segment here. So leave it off here. But,
okay. Yeah. Jim Harbaugh. First question: rumors, smoke, or are they BS?
I think there is some smoke to it, only because, I mean, he's already a few weeks ago, he's already come out and said that, he's enthusiastic to be back for 2023. However,
yes.
I think he said that, right? And he could easily come out right now and dispel these rumors and squash them out. But I think he likes to get the attention because he likes to have his options always open. So by not saying anything, he's probably telling his recruits something, right? He's not going to lie to them. I don't see Jim Harbaugh being that way. So he's going to be real with his players and his recruits. But I think with regards to the media, I think he just likes to keep his options open.
So obviously this has been a thing. He got there in 2015. I think it started at the end of the 2015 season. Like they started recruiting him back to the NFL. And for the longest time, there was there may have been smoke, but it always came out to be BS because he just never really elaborated on it.
Yeah.
Well, last year he interviewed for the Vikings. Well, we know about the Vikings. I mean, they're literally in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They clinched the NFC North. They're a damn good football team. I think Jim thought, hey, I need to at least explore this. Jim's a football mind. He knew what the Vikings were, what they potentially could be. And, he still says, and he told his players, I just have an itch to win a Super Bowl. And I totally respect that. The job he's being talked about with is just the Denver Broncos. And unless Walmart, and Denver owners are from Walmart, if you guys don't know, unless Walmart's willing to offer him 10 years, $100 million, why do you walk? First off, Denver's a dumpster fire, at least what we think it is. And second,
tough ass division.
Not even that. Just take the NFL out of it. I just want to talk about Michigan for a brief second. Colin Cowherd said this today, and like this is what I've been saying, but he nailed it out of the park. And he likes to talk about Harbaugh. He has the best roster he's ever had at Michigan. Even returning next year, it's still very good. Okay, this is the best quarterback play he's had at Michigan. He finally has Ohio State where he wants him. He gets Ohio State at home, and if you looked at the 2023 schedule, it's soft. We can be right back in the college football playoffs. Why leave now? At least do one more year. At least do one more year. It would be dumb to leave now. At the very least, give yourself one more chance because your options aren't closing up. And if you think Denver's like, oh my God, this almighty job, yeah, think again. Think again. Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. A lot of this core nucleus is returning for 2023, and some players, some like guys like Michael Barrett, still don't know what they want to do. And I think right before we went live, I noticed that Taylor Upshaw is in the transfer portal, whatever, and he never really, I don't think really, produced a whole lot. So losing him isn't like super detriment, but it obviously sucks to see anyone transfer out, and then Julian Washloff, he transferred out. But the core of this team, the heart and soul of this team, is going to be back. And if he even gets Michael Barrett to come back, I mean that's absolutely a win. So when he says enthusiastically come back for 2023, I think he knows that 2023 is without a doubt in his mind a third crack at trying to get a national championship. So. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But
go ahead. Real quick, is it about Harbaugh?
Oh yeah.
Go ahead, ask it.
Oh no, actually, yeah, I'll ask your question right now. Can I ask you that question real quick?
Go ahead. Yeah, hit it.
All right. So hypothetically, if Jimmy Bolts and his staff doesn't leave with him to the next destination, and you had to promote within the coaching staff, right? Who would you pick for coach?
Literally my next question.
Let's go.
Sherrone Moore.
Yeah.
You?
That would probably be my choice as well. I don't think he's ready for that large of a role yet. Apparently,
to be honest, I don't know anybody on that roster is really. There's a lot of really good coordinators, but I don't feel any alphas. I don't know.
Yeah, no, you're right, and apparently he's one of our main recruiters. I don't know the ins and outs of all the recruiting stuff, but if I had to pick, it would be him. Although I want something because of where we're at right now with this program. If the next guy coming in, whoever it may be, I need surefire home run. No questions asked. I can't have any gambles, nothing. Just like with me being a Raiders fan, like say which one about McDaniels after Gruden, I'm like, you need 100% full confidence in who you get next because you cannot have any more of this rebuilding bullshit. And where Michigan, like I said, is at right now, it has to be a guaranteed lock.
I'll go ahead and ask the next one. Maybe you had it written down. If not an inside candidate, is there an outside candidate that you see that you would want?
Quite honestly, I don't know. I don't know who I would want. I can tell you who I don't want. I don't want a Lane Kiffin. I don't want an Urban Meyer type. I want someone that's going to be surefire and is going to be here for 10 years at least. I don't want Lane Kiffin to come in here for 5 years and then get on the cusp and then dip.
Yeah.
And then be right back in the same position we're at now. I don't want a Lincoln Riley who is going to ride it out, and then when he notices that, hey, I'm not going to have a quarterback that I want, I'm going to go to another place. I can tell you who I don't want. Can't tell you who I do want though.
Yeah. What about Lincoln's brother, the one that's the offensive coordinator at USC? Young mind. Obviously, him and Lincoln are tight. Could probably draft and develop quarterbacks.
See, I don't know much about him, and
Yeah.
I don't know if that would fall into the category of a Sherlock.
That's fair.
And then what's weird right now is a lot of the Michigan guys, a lot of Michigan men out there, they've all grown old and moved on. Not a lot of them are out there still coaching. I think one of the assistants under Woodcard, Cam Cameron, I don't even know where he's at. I think he's in the NFL somewhere. So I mean, it's pretty bare bones. I think Mike DeBoard, he's around in the Big Ten somewhere, I think, and he was OC under Woodcard. Nothing that's going to get me fired up.
Put a percentage on him leaving.
I say 20%, and
seems fair.
Yeah, I say about 20%.
I was going to come in a little under, but not much. Yeah,
but we go through this shit every single year. The same people that crap all over them, or I put in my Michigan hype video for TCU. There's a soundbite of Paul Feinbaum. We love Paul Feinbaum. It was after the 2021 season, going into the college football playoff, and he's saying that Jim Harbaugh is a better NFL coach than he is a college coach, and if he wins the national championship, at that point in time, he said he could fathom seeing him leave for the NFL again. And Jim Harbaugh he's got this monkey off his back. He's got to win one. I mean, he fell short in the Super Bowl, NFC championships a couple times, 6 straight bowl losses, 2 college football playoff first round knockouts. He's got to get over the hump, and hopefully it's with us. What's
crazy is, Paul Feinbaum's comment that Harbaugh is a better NFL coach than a college coach. I actually don't necessarily disagree.
Yeah.
But that's also not a shot at Harbaugh.
No.
If he intended it to be, shame on him.
Yeah.
I think Harbaugh is one of the greatest peer coaches, football coaches of men and motivators that we've seen. I think he's a great football coach. Got a few things here. Anything else on Harbaugh before we move on?
No. I have 2 more questions for you, but I'll get those in whenever.
Yeah, we'll get them in the mailbag here.
Yep.
Georgia, Ohio State, very briefly. Did the best team win, first off?
I think so. Overall, I think Ohio State has a better offense, and I think Georgia has had its issues on their secondary all season. I mean, they were in some close battles. So, I mean, it's a tough task to slow down Ohio State, and I think Ohio State getting rejuvenated there. I think CJ Stroud was just putting his heart and soul out there on the line. Not saying he didn't do it against Michigan, but I think Georgia's just overall better team, but Ohio State's got the better offense, and they have the best wide receiver talent in the country.
Yeah, I just think Ohio State at the end of the day was just maybe just too beat up. As talented as they are, they lean heavily on their starters. They were throwing touchdown passes with their starters in the fourth quarter in a lot of games this year. They lead heavily on those guys. I don't know that they had the depth they were looking for. And ultimately, when you lose Jackson Smith-Njigba and then you lose Marvin Harrison on what was, in my opinion, a targeting that wasn't called. Ibuka's a great receiver, and so is Fleming, but they weren't that clear number one guy, at least not yet. And it just wasn't enough, and Georgia was able to come back. I did think at that point they were the better team, but I thought Ohio State played the better football game. They just came up short. Georgia, TCU. Who you got? First off, who are you rooting for? Let me start there. Who are you rooting for?
TCU.
Agree.
It's TCU.
Who do you think? Go ahead.
It was weird with that Ohio State Georgia game. It's kind of like when Ohio State plays Michigan State or Notre Dame. It's like, again, the conversation we had a couple weeks ago. Whatever is good for Ohio State is bad for Michigan. So, I don't want the SEC to keep winning. I don't like Alabama. I don't like Kirby Smart. I don't like Nick Saban. But then again, I don't want Ohio State to win. And again, that like we talked about earlier, that the sting of being in Columbus would have been erased. But I'm pulling for TCU here because I just want to see. I want to say call TCU the little guy, but I want to see the underdog win one, and it's
That's
time
fair.
to see some new blood.
Totally agree. Who do you think wins?
I think TCU can win this game. To be honest, they're 12
Okay.
and a half. They're 12 and a half point dogs right now, but they were 7.5 point dogs to Michigan. And I just think with two Jim Thorpe Award winners on at corner, and with Max Duggan, dude, I think this is gonna. I think if whatever the over is, over under, I'm gonna bet the over. I think this is gonna be a fireworks show, and I think TCU can win it.
Yeah, TCU's main running back ended up getting hurt against Michigan. His health is going to be really dependent on it. But I do think TCU has the firepower to put up some points. I just think Georgia's more complete and ends up winning the game. If I had to guess, it's much lower scoring than what we've seen last week. I think it's way more defensive, more strategic, maybe 31-21, Georgia by 10. We can get in the mailbag if you're ready.
Let's go.
Okay, well, getting ready to close her out here. We got some questions, and then we'll send you home. So let's start with the first question, and then we'll trade ours back to back. So Brad Eppert writes in, does Tulane beating USC show people that 12 or 16 is not too many teams to have a shot at the playoffs?
Yeah, 100%. And that was a phenomenal game. Absolutely.
Yeah, 12 is the right number. 16 is the max, in my opinion. And Brad, I know you've been beating this home for a couple of years now, and I mostly agree. Tulane ain't winning a national championship. They're not. Okay? Tulane's not beating USC, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan all in a row. Like it, you know what I mean? In essentially a 12-team playoffs, they'd have to win 1, 2, 3 games, right? Yeah, 3 games. Or is it 4 games? I mean, it's 4. Regardless, you're asking a lot from a team like Tulane. Now, Tulane can shake things up and make things fun. I just think it's a tall ask that they would win the national championship unless they had a superstar quarterback or something. But, yeah, I do think that 12 or 16 teams is the right number, just to be clear. But I'm not sure that showed me that. I just think that was needed all along. The thing that shows me that is it's Penn State. Penn State's a better example of needing 12 teams than Tulane is. Penn State, their 2 losses this year. You know who they are?
Rose Bowl champions?
Yeah. Do you know who? So Penn State lost 2 games. Do you know who beat them?
Yeah, Michigan, Ohio State.
Michigan, Ohio State. Ohio State, they took to the brim. Yeah. Literally fourth quarter until a defensive player had the game of his life. Michigan, on the other hand, had a little bit of a better day against them, but they played hard against Michigan, and they were leading at halftime, if I'm not mistaken. Okay?
Yeah.
Second thing with Penn State, they went on the road at Auburn in their non-conference and put it down on them in Auburn, SEC country. Then in the Rose Bowl on the grandest stage, they beat down Utah. That is a damn good football team that should have been a playoff team. But because there's only 4 teams, a good team, a very good Penn State team didn't get to play for any college football playoff. Now, mind you, I hate James Franklin. I don't care for Penn State, frankly, but I'm just being, no pun intended, I'm just trying to be like fair here. Penn State's a better example than Tulane is. Kyle Miller writes in, biggest surprise from the bowl games. What do you got?
All right. I got 2 games that were pretty interesting, right? All right. So my first one is Iowa versus Kentucky. Iowa wins 21-0. They score all 3 touchdowns in the second quarter, right? Listen to this. Third down efficiency, 0 for 11. Fourth down efficiency, 0 for 2. And between both teams, 20 first downs. They got 10 each. And they won this game with a total yards of 206 to Kentucky's 185. What a snooze fest. Yeah. And I thought it was hilarious because Jacob Labas, whatever, he's a third-string quarterback. He starts his first game this season and wins the bowl game, throwing for 139 yards and a touchdown. Just what a wild-ass game that was. And then secondly, the other surprise was complete opposite of that. Kansas versus Arkansas. 53 Arkansas, 53 Kansas. over 1,200 yards of total offense. JT Daniels for Kansas throws for 544 yards, 5 touchdowns, 2 picks. Just fucking fireworks, absolutely ridiculous. And the way that ended was pretty nuts.
Yeah, I don't have a ton to add. I'm not a big outside of Michigan, I'm not a big college bowl game watcher, but I will say this. I feel somewhat right because Joe Milton was able to light up Clemson for Tennessee, the backup quarterback for Tennessee, former Michigan Wolverine, was able to light up Clemson for a pretty nice size game. That was kind of cool. And the other biggest surprise, and this is me being a homer, I can't believe that Michigan scored 45 and lost. I'm still beside myself on it. It's tough. How many questions do you have for me, roughly?
2.
Okay, I'll start, and then we'll alternate.
All right.
I'm going to play with your heartstrings a little bit. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Is this season a success, a failure, or is it something else?
Success. As long as you improve off the last season and knock off most, if not all, of your goals, 100%. Like last year, again, got over the Ohio State hump, got to the Big Ten championship, won that, got to college football playoff. Now we've gotten both our rivals in the same season, which hasn't happened in a long time. One in Columbus, so there's momentum. Okay, we're seeing improvement. So as long as we're seeing that, absolutely 100% of success.
Yeah, I said it a couple weeks ago. If this team didn't win a national championship, it'd be a lost season or a failure. I've kind of changed my tune a little bit because of what you just said. This team was able to achieve a lot of its goals. They were able to beat Michigan State and Ohio State for the first time in over 10 years. They were able to win the Big Ten title again, winning in Columbus for the first time since Brady was there, it felt like, or Navarre, or whoever it was.
Brady, yeah.
Or Henson.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, the first 13-win program or first team win season in program history. Like, it's got to mean something. It's a success. And I believe this culture is still being built. So go ahead with your question.
Yeah. So we'll go back to the coaching staff. So as we've seen how 2022 played out, the wide receiver room didn't really pan out the way we thought in preseason. We know that we had a lot of talent, but the production wasn't there. So Ron Bellamy, our wide receivers coach, this is his alma mater. He played here, and before coaching safeties last year, and then moving to where he's at now, he was a high school coach in West Bloomfield. Is there cause for concern that he has to get replaced as the wide receivers coach, or do we let him retain a spot for 2023?
I've seen nothing at this time to tell me it's coaching.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's fair or unfair, but as of right now, I'm just indifferent. Like, if you told me right now, Michigan moved on and brought someone else in, I'd be open to it because there just hasn't been the production that we'd want.
Yeah.
Though I do think that coming off this game, I thought it was a very good wide receiver game. Like I alluded to, is in my liked, but yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. I would love to get somebody that's next in line to coach guys like Hartline's doing over at Ohio State. I'm super jealous of that. I would love to have more top end wide receiver talent. But I do think that we're getting some of that. We've had guys come in here, and unfortunately, the production's just not there. We talked about Nico Collins. We both loved Nico Collins, Donovan Peoples-Jones. Ronnie Bell was a lower recruit than both of those guys and just outperformed them. Continues to. There's Andrew Anthony still, for whatever reason, can't showcase anything. He's had one game. He's living his Michigan career off one game. Yeah, is that Ron's fault? I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. I'll throw it back to you.
I'm exactly right where you're at. I just thought I'd bring it up because obviously, you and I were high on it. We both agreed that in the season there was like 7-8 guys on this roster that we thought could be very productive, and obviously a lot of variables because you got a team that relies on the run heavily. About 60-40, depending on who you're playing, and some of it is the play calling. But I'm right there with you.
Is Michigan the new leader of the Big Ten, or is it still Ohio State?
I think as of right now, I think Michigan's the leader of the Big Ten in terms of they're reigning back-to-back conference champions, and a lot of that too. I feel that way is they're returning as of right now. Looks to be their entire coaching staff, the nucleus of their team. Ohio State losing C.J. Stroud. They're having Harrison Jr. back, right? So
Yep.
a couple of their guys are transferring. A couple of them are going to go to the NFL. So I feel like Ohio State is losing more than Michigan. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but it just feels like Michigan has got a lot more continuity for 2023 as of January 3rd at 8:55 p.m. Eastern. So that's where I'm sticking to.
Yeah, I think in short, I'll keep this short and sweet. I don't think I would entertain a second place argument. If you told me that they were equal or Michigan was ahead, I would agree. If you said equal, I think I would entertain that. I'd be like, okay, yeah, that's fair. Ohio State's still recruiting better, but they just haven't had the success on the field, but was still able to get to the playoffs and took Georgia to the limits. Yeah, I would agree that both teams are very good.
Yeah.
But if you tried to argue right now that Michigan's worse than Ohio State, I don't think I would even entertain that argument. So,
yeah, and same thing with going into the season. A lot of the writers and magazines and online was Penn State was going to be the team in 2022 to unhorse Ohio State. Michigan was already getting written off as a Cinderella story that's going to be here and gone before it even gets started, and it wasn't the case.
Yeah. You're next.
My next question here is going to be on recruiting. Michigan, I meant to ask this last week because we did talk about, or the last time we went, last week when we went live, and I think we went down the recruiting rabbit hole. But Michigan's top three all-time highest rated recruits according to 24/7 Sports. Can you name all three?
I think I can.
Okay.
I think I can. Okay. I don't know if I can do them in exact order, but do me this favor. As I say them, tell me what order. But I'm going to try to do it number one. Ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Number one all time, I believe it's Ryan Mallett.
He is on this list, but not at one.
Okay. If it's not him, I believe it's Rashawn Gary.
Rashawn Gary's one.
Where's Mallett?
3.
He's 3. So number 2, is it Jabril Peppers?
Yep.
Okay. I knew the 3. I just didn't know what rank.
Yeah, I don't know how they do the scoring on 24/7 Sports, but Rashawn Gary was like a perfect 1,000 score. Peppers was like 99997, and the Mallett was like 9995 or something like that. Yeah.
Oh. Which is kind of cool because I'm a Patriot guy. Peppers is playing his natural position at like a Viper linebacker safety spot for New England. He's also a core special teamer, and he's having what seems to be a pretty good season. He's not totally utilized, but in his packages, he's a player, which is nice to see him. And then Rashawn Gary, I think he's been injured slightly this year, but he was starting to have a breakout season earlier in the year. I could be wrong. He might not be hurt, but it seemed like he was off to a hot start. I don't know if he still is, but
Rashawn Gary I think he had a great 2021 for the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
So he definitely has. He definitely got better in the NFL than right at Michigan because his sack numbers you'd want a little bit higher at U of M, but they just weren't. But yeah, no, he's tearing up for the Green Bay Packers for sure. And I like last week I was dogging or not showing too much love for Jabril Peppers, but he's a guy that right now in New England he's thriving because he's got the supporting cast and the coaching around him, whatever, and he's in the right place. Not every player is going to be fit somewhere, and so he's he's going to get drafted by the Browns, but the Browns are for the most part historically pretty much a garbage dump. So you can't I can't judge Jabril Peppers off what he's shown me so far in Cleveland and in New York, but whatever.
I don't want to turn this into a Sean Gary session, but I will say this briefly, and you can agree, disagree, comment, whatever you want to do. Rashawn Gary gets a lot of flack, a lot of it. But if I'm not mistaken, the 2 pass rushers he played with were Uche and Winovich, correct?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, so Winovich has turned out to be an NFL bust. Okay, he was known as a high motor player who got a bunch of sacks at Michigan. Was he benefiting from having Gary on the other side? Uche took a minute because Belichick drafted him and put him out of his natural position. But now that he's playing at the edge, he's been pretty electric. It just something tells me that maybe Gary was being double teamed, maybe triple teamed at times. I don't think the stat line's completely fair. Also, Michigan wasn't always great. I mean, I think his top season was 2017. and that team was really bad. So it's just like it's really hard to blame Gary. Obviously, he's the greatest prospect at Michigan history, but it's just like I don't put it all on him. I don't know. Way too early prediction for 2023.
Record-wise?
Sure.
13-0 going into the Big Ten championship, or coming out of the Big Ten championship. And again, people who've listened to this since 2020, are the more pessimistic one, but got, like you said earlier, soft cupcake schedule next year again.
Yeah.
Got to travel to East Lansing, and I believe you're gonna have to travel to
Penn State,
but
Minnesota.
Yeah, but you get Ohio State at home. I'm not really worried about Minnesota. I think Ibrahim's gone, but I don't see why not.
I agree.
If they were playing in Columbus next year, I might say 12 and 11-1, 12-1, whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I reserved a right to change my opinion come preseason and come game time, but as of right now, I don't see this team losing a game next year until the playoffs. I mean, it's just that's the expectation of this team, and right now, there's nobody else in the Big Ten, and the one team that's kind of sniffing at our ankles is still Ohio State, and we got them at home, and I like what Michigan's gonna potentially bring in that game. So, give me the Wolverines going 13-0 again. I agree. You already talked about Taylor. Do you have any more questions?
No, I'm good, buddy.
Okay, you talked about Taylor Upshaw. In closing, I got one more prediction from you, and then I'm done. Blake Corum, just like Jim Harbaugh, NFL, or does he stay? And then give me a percentage. Give me your prediction, then give me a percentage.
I think Blake Corum goes to the NFL, and I think it's like 60-40. NFL 40 come back. If Michigan would have beat TCU, I think I would have been probably more 80-20. I think watching on the sidelines was kind of irking at him, even against Ohio State, not be able to go full go, not going to be able not able to play in the Big Ten championship. So I think that he's going to have this. I want to say emptiness, but feeling of the job's not done yet to him. Maybe, I don't know. So I say 60-40.
Yeah, I think he comes back. I've been pro send him to the NFL, but I agree. Watching him on the sideline, not being able to contribute against Ohio State this year, the Big Ten championship, and now the playoff, being quote unquote banged up at the end of last year, I don't think it's sitting right with him. I think he has a legacy at Michigan that he really cares about, and NIL is a real deal. There's rumors and talks that the new president of Michigan is trying to get some NIL money around for these players. And I have a feeling the first one they're going to roll the Brinks truck back up for is Blake Corum.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was very apparent. If we have Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards, we might be playing this Monday. So that's all I got. Anything else from you, sir?
That's it, man. It just like that. Blink of an eye, it's over with for Michigan season, at least. And we got a lot of off-season stuff here. We got hoops here, obviously till April. But yeah, man, it was a hell of a season. It's a very memorable one. And again, these last two seasons, being able to travel to Indianapolis and experience it as a fan, December, was it December 3rd or 4th, whatever day it was in 2021 against Iowa, with some of my boys. That'll go down to one of the greatest experiences of my life, and won't want any other way.
Yeah, moving on forward, we're probably going to try and do, until the basketball season ends, we're going to try and do every other week, talking hoops. We should have roughly 3 to 4 games in that span every week that we can kind of talk about and dissect. And obviously, there will be a football corner every pod that we do, talking about the latest updates, whether it's transfer portal, recruiting, coaching changes, just news and notes about the team, anything like that. We'll be having a football corner as well. And then we do have a series planned for this summer that we're both pretty excited about. Hopefully we roll that out as soon as the basketball season's over, and that gets us until August when we're all excited to talk more Michigan football. So,
yep.
As you alluded to, season's over, but it was a fond one. Good to look back on. But on to 2023 and the basketball team and the hockey team, who will be in February. So, all right. I think that's it. We're out. Go blue.
Go blue.
Real talk.